Yo, what is good? What is good? We are here for week 6. Just me and Matt this week. Fancy has to work, but we are happy that you guys are tuning in. Welcome in. Matt, how are we doing?
What's going on?
We are 5 weeks through football. Which means we're getting there to that third marker of the season already, Matt. We're starting to see we had our first head coach be fired. Jets fired head coach Saleh.
Came out of
Um,
nowhere.
Shout out to Aaron Rodgers. He mentioned on Sunday Conversation that he would fire his head coach if he was able to. I don't know if you saw that clip. It like resurfaced. It was great.
Yep.
So shout out to Rodgers to being the LeBron James of the NFL. Really cool. And then on the other side of things, we have some new quarterbacks starting this week. We talked about week 1, how many rookie quarterbacks there were at the beginning of the season, right? We had all those that we listed. None of them got a win first week. Well, besides Caleb and the Bears defense got a week 1 win.
True.
Caleb Williams. But this week we're going to see Drake May and Spencer Rattler. Hopefully I'm saying that name right. For the Saints, which was interesting because he didn't go into that game when Carr had that oblique injury. So it was kind of weird to see, like maybe they didn't want to throw him in a dumpster fire type thing. I don't know.
Yep.
But lots of new changes this week. And our teams didn't lose, Matt. I mean, we didn't come up a
Absolutely.
loss,
You can't lose on a bye week. So
Exactly.
what we did, I don't know if you guys saw the socials. We did hit both
Absolutely, we did.
the Talks Within parlay,
Which
Talks
put
Within
us up.
Reach.
We're up way above our green margin.
Yep.
Now we were down a lot.
And then I don't know if you saw the second one and you were like, what the hell was this?
Yeah, we didn't announce that one, to be fair. That was a funny one that we kind of just was like, fuck it. What if it does it? It'd be fun,
Yeah. So if you go back and look at it and you still want to know like what the hell was going on. So it was a chain reaction one. So if you look at it,
I
you look
still
at
don't know what it is, just so everyone talking about
So
it.
chain reaction. So the first one leads into the second one, leads into the third one. So we had Wandell Robinson, and then Brian Robinson, and then Brian Thomas. So hopefully we can put together another fun one like that and see him hit. You'll see if you tune in to the end of this, we will show up this week's, and hopefully we'll just stay hot and
Yeah.
keep going.
We're gonna try to stay hot. If you did tail every bet, which I don't think we have anyone tailing every single bet yet, but we are up. If you are betting with us, which I mean, anyone that bets knows that is the goal. But with that, we will get into our weekly picks, which I finally came off of the little drought that I was in.
Good
But
work.
we'll start
Yep.
with Fancy. He went 8-6, which puts him at 41-37 on the season. Matt, you went 7-7, which ties you in Fancy at 41-37, and I went 9-5. So we had a little bit of everything: 9-5, 8-6, 7-7. But that takes me and puts me at 40-38. So I'm one behind. So hopefully we can start to catch a little bit of traction here and get a little bit of a grip about what's going on in the NFL. Here is the Week 6 matchups graphic. This week we have the Chiefs on a bye, the Vikings on a bye, the Rams on a bye, and the Dolphins on a bye. Matt, out of these teams, it's crazy because if you're 5-0, right, the bottom left, it's kind of crazy. The only undefeated teams are not playing this week, which means we go another week with undefeated teams in the NFL, right?
Yep.
So they don't really want to buy, right? Like they want to stay hot, keep me going. Because they're not really, besides the Chiefs, which they can't really do much because their injuries are like season-ending injuries. Hollywood Brown, Pacheco. Well, Pacheco will be back, but they just announced Rashee Rice is done for the season. So like, they don't really need time, if that makes sense. But the Rams and the Dolphins, this could be a really good turning point for them. Going into week 7, we see Cooper Kupp come back. Maybe we see possibly Tua. We don't know. We're talking about week 7, week 8, maybe. They don't know, but it could be a really big difference maker for those teams to get some of those guys back.
Well, yeah, and speaking of Vikings too, Aaron Jones just went out with that hip injury, so
Yep.
it's actually a perfect time to have a bye for him as well.
Yeah, kind of give you that little bit of a rest, and hopefully keep that hot streak going. I know if I was 5-0 though, I don't know. I mean, it's nice, but it's like I think I'd want to keep it rolling to maybe 6 or 7, and then take it.
Yep.
But Thursday Night Football, so tonight when this gets uploaded, we have the 49ers and Seattle Seahawks. Matt, me and you went with Seattle. They are at home. Break me down what you like about this matchup with Seattle.
So Seattle, I mean that Kenneth Walker coming back. You saw him run the ball great. I think you got a three-headed monster now at wide receiver for them. So if it's not DK, it's Lockett. If it's not Lockett, it's
JSN, yeah.
JSN. And the offense is looking really good. And I think the main point, I'll let you finish, your point, what you told me earlier about home field advantage, right? That 12th man is there
legit.
for, yeah, it is there for a reason. So Seahawks, high powered offense. We saw it against the Lions, and so I think they can take care of it here.
Yeah, I like it. My biggest thing, like you touched up on, is that home field advantage. Seattle, even when they're down and out on the season, not having a good team, that place is loud. And I mean they have the name for the reason. I think Seattle's kind of got to have a bounce back. They lost to Lions, they lose to the Giants, right? It's like you kind of have to get a grip here before it starts slipping away too far, right? Um, and because Giants, that was Giants last week, right? Because Daniel
Yep.
Jones pulled it off. We don't we'll get into the Daniel Jones. I don't know. Look, good for him. But on the flip side of it, we do have Fancy. Fancy is taking the 49ers. We would love to hear his side of things because there's always some kind of fancyism that comes out of that. But for me, you have Kittle, who he's dealing with some injuries. That short week, right? We talk about it. You only have 2 days basically to rest up. Then you got to hit practice. You got to understand what they're trying to get at. Then you got to travel, right? And is he going to be healthy? And he's been in the games that they've won. He's been a very valuable piece to that. Obviously, it's George Kittle. We all know that he's top 5 tight end. Kelsey's came out and said that he's the number 1 tight end in the league at the moment. But you take that piece out, and I think the CMC, I mean, they're really just missing that piece. I know Jordan Mason's playing really well. They're just missing that stuff. And I think, it's funny because Fancy actually kind of called at the beginning of the season. We are starting to see that 49ers, that downslide of the 49ers, like with CMC out. And we're starting to see, the contract talks with Ayuk. They paid him. Now he drops every football that's thrown to him.
He finally had a productive week at least.
He did.
So.
Yeah, he absolutely did. But for me, you take Seattle at home coming off 2 losses. They got to fix it. They got to go 4-2, get in the win column, which still keeps them at the top of the NFC West, which they need to stay on top of it as long as they possibly can. Because if CMC is coming back or does come back, I think that 49ers team gets that jolt of energy that they are missing, because it's just not the same. And then we are in London, where I did expect one of us to take London's team, the London Jaguars.
Yep.
I think are they undefeated in London?
I'm trying to remember, but I know
maybe 1 loss.
Yeah,
if that.
But again, this is their, they got 2 weeks essentially in London. This is the first of their 2 matchups.
Yeah, they're all cozied up in a hotel over there. They're they're ready to go. But we all did take the Bears. The Bears can move to 4-2, which would put them at, well, I guess we do with the Packers winning, but it does put them still up in there above even the Lions, which is kind of crazy.
Yep.
It should be a winnable game for the Bears. Obviously, their defense is much better than Jacksonville. Jacksonville's been struggling, even though we did see them finally get in the win column last week. We all took the Bears still, we just like the matchup. It's a safer pick, even though they are the London Jaguars. We all have the Bears in that matchup. But then it transitions us into the noon or 1 o'clock Eastern time games, where we see the Packers Cardinals. We all took the Packers, even though the Cardinals did come off an impressive win with the 49ers. Green Bay at home. We love. There's certain teams we love at home, right? And it's
exactly. That's
Green
the
Bay.
advantage.
It's the safe pick. The team is firing all cylinders now with Jordan Love back. And then we have the Colts Titans, which we kind of talked about it. The Colts are not favored in this matchup, so we all jumped on board with it. Richardson's questionable, which maybe looks like Joe Flacco's going to start another week, which they did look better. But you pointed out to me Michael Pittman is out. I don't know what injury
Yep.
that is. Maybe you know a little bit more, but you know what it is, or
I don't recall it off the top of my head, but I mean, what's interesting though is Michael Pittman is supposed to be, you know, their wide receiver 1,
Josh Downs, maybe.
but Downs and Pierce, like, you know,
Yep.
Pierce got that bomb, and then Downs was playing lights out too. So
Yep.
Flacco can still ball. For
Yeah.
some reason, he is just, no matter where you throw him.
And he's more aggressive later in his career than he was with the Ravens. You look at the Ravens, he just wasn't really that big of a passer, right? And then all of a
Yeah.
sudden now it's like 300 plus yards every single game. Um, and hey, I mean, not to toot my own horn, but if you guys watch my waiver wire pickups, I did say Josh Downs going into this week, and we saw him get, I think it was like 12, 14 targets last week. So there's some
Yep.
kind of connection with Flacco that he loves about Josh Downs and Alec Pierce, obviously. Even with Alec Pierce with Anthony Richardson, he was catching all those deep balls. I don't know, like
Yep.
it's like he catches that 70-yarder like Jameson Williams, or he does nothing, you know.
Yeah.
But this is probably the matchup for me. The more we talked about it, the more weary I was about it. Like I didn't know, like JT's questionable, Anthony Richardson's questionable, Michael Pittman's out. Like it's a game that Tennessee should win, right? You know, if you're
But
Tennessee, you're one
but
and three, you're at home.
they have
They
Will
have
Levis.
Will
So
Levis, exactly, and so that's what kind of teeters us to that side of the Colts. At least don't have Will Levis. that's
let's
that's the best way we can put it.
continue the meme train of, you know,
Yeah,
how is he gonna
yeah.
actually, you know,
Coming off
make
a
the
bye, maybe he'll end the streak. You know,
yeah.
because he didn't lose last week. Hey, you know. Then we have the Texans Patriots, easy one for us. You know, Texans, they just coming off a really impressive win against the Bills. We all took the Texans. This is one of those matchups that they absolutely should win. So it'll probably be the matchup that's the Patriots somehow win with Drake May under center. I don't know. Then we have Tampa and the Saints. I did expect at least one person to go with the Saints, because all of our picks were in before Derek Carr was ruled out. Like we said in the beginning, Spencer Rattler will be starting this week. But even before that, we all picked Tampa, so it didn't even matter the quarterback position. We all picked Tampa. Baker coming off of a game that came down to the wire against Atlanta on Thursday night, but they're well rested. The offense still is clicking. Just kind of need them to tighten things up on defense a little bit,
Yep.
which we could say for a lot of teams. But that Tampa Bay offense is rolling, and I don't know if the Saints offense can keep up with it.
Yeah, when you
Especially
have
with the rookie quarterback.
when you have two elite wide receivers, um, which Evans is, you know, starting to, you know,
Yeah.
step it up, because Godwin was running away with it for those first couple weeks. But Evans and Godwin are both, you know, you can't cover both of them. So
Yep. Absolutely.
someone's gonna find that ball.
Then we transitioned into the Eagles Browns games. Eagles at home. All three of us took them. The Browns just look like shit. It's not even. It's not. I mean, even as an Eagles fan, it's not like I'm picking them. I mean, I probably pick them either way, like no matter what they're playing or who they're playing. But the Browns look terrible. They just absolutely look terrible. The Eagles coming off a bye, which we know we had a lot of injuries between Smith, AJ Brown, Lane Johnson. We had a lot of guys out.
Yep.
It kind of gives us that time to figure out why we're 2-2 and not 4-0, like I thought we would be at least. So we all took the Eagles in that matchup, and then
But
probably the
well,
what
one sec before we transition. Basically, what it comes down, not only do we think the Eagles, you know, need to turn this around, but when you give a quarterback that much guaranteed money and he's looking like he is, it may be time to transition, you know, to
oh
that.
Watson
Yep.
and yep.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It might
we
be.
debated beforehand, and we'll get to the parlay, but we did the debate throwing in a Deshaun Watson pick. It's not that we don't like it; it's just a simple fact that he might get yanked. He might get pulled out in the first
He
quarter,
might not
second
play a
quarter,
full
whatever. I
game.
mean, Stefanski said that they're sticking with him, but that does not mean he does not go out there and go 3 and out, 3 and out, 3 and out, and then they yank him out of there. You know what I mean? So
Yep.
the pick is likely, but we you know we'll see what happens. But one of my favorite matchups of the week, to be honest with you,
Absolutely.
is two quarterbacks that play very identical. That I love both of their play styles. I love the way they handle themselves on and off the field. We have the Ravens and the Commanders. Me and you went with the Ravens. Um, I'll give you the you know the keys to the franchise to you know to go run over this, but I will just say another one of those teams that we love at home. Like that's what I have
Yeah.
to say about it is I
Yep.
love them at home, but I know you're a big Lamar Jackson fan as he torched you guys last year. So you get to see it firsthand. But
Yeah.
tell me what you like about it.
So, I mean, I started with I really if it wasn't against the Ravens maybe here, I like I like the Commanders until they prove otherwise. I think they are just running away with it right now, playing, amazing, right?
I mean,
But
who would have thought they would have been at the top of the NFC East?
absolutely. So that's what again, kind of like what you said, they're at home. The Ravens also though look, a
Scary.
couple tough losses, right? But they have been looking really, really good.
I mean,
And
correct me if I'm wrong. They started off 0-2. We talked about
yeah,
like, hey, this is an 0-2 team that maybe shouldn't be 0-2.
but
And then they
those were
came
yeah,
out and they smacked some good opponents. I think off the top of my head, Cowboys, Bills, Bengals. Like those are playoff teams that they came
yep,
out and they smacked. And even before that, I don't remember who their second loss was to, but their first loss was the Chiefs, right? Coming off of opening night, Super Bowl. That was the Chiefs when they had Pacheco and Rice and everything
right.
else. But I forget who they lost to week 2. It might have been like the Raiders.
Yeah, so it was 27-20 Chiefs, 26-23 against the Raiders,
Yeah,
and then now they're coming off these three straight wins,
Cowboys and
Bills and Bengals.
yeah.
Yep.
So I actually had it right. Wow, surprisingly. So yeah,
Yep.
I mean, you know, that's like you said, their ball. It's just one of those teams where it's one of those matchups where for me and you, I feel like we have the same mindset of like, not only do they look better on paper, which never matters, like it really doesn't, because we've
Yep.
seen teams. Look at the Bengals; they're 1-4 on paper. I mean, and their offense statistically, they should not be 1-4, right? If you give that points per game to most teams, they're going to be undefeated, right?
Yep.
So we like them better on paper, and so sometimes me and you, we favor that home team, right? We favor especially teams like Baltimore, Seattle, Philly, Green Bay, like the line, like Detroit, like Dallas, like that's we'll get into those games, but those
Yep.
those stadiums have that effect of like the fan base, right? It's like it is hard to play there. It is loud. The Chiefs, like there's certain places that are very very loud and very scary to go into, and we talk
Mhm.
about how good the Ravens are at home. Um, I am interested because, like I said, it's kind of like the future of the NFL here. I think Jaden Daniels and Lamar have a lot of respect for each other. Their play styles, reflect each other a lot. Um, and this would be a huge win for the Commanders. If we next week we come in and
Absolutely.
they're 5-1, like Fancy's predicting. Fancy's a big he's a big Jaden Daniels guy. That was one of our picks last week that hit was his passing yards over. And there'll be a surprise for you at the end of what he took this week as well. But it's one of those things where, I mean, I'm not saying it can't happen. I don't think you are either. I
Mhm.
think it's gonna be
So
interesting.
yeah, so what's interesting with the Ravens offense though is you've got two guys that are in the top 10 for rushing yards. And it's obviously Derrick Henry who we expected, but Lamar Jackson's up there in the top 10 of rushing yards as well. So it's actually the passing is not quite there in that offense, but they don't need it. So they found they found a couple different avenues last week. You saw Kohler, you saw Likely, saw Andrews actually get, a couple, which
He got a
is
little bit. He
nice
got a little
too.
bit of love. Yeah, he got a little bit.
So it's an interesting offensive scheme, but if you just load up the box for Derrick Henry, you also have to look out for Lamar Jackson being able to, push to the outside and run it as well. So that's a tough,
Yeah,
offensive stop.
yeah. Especially when they're running triple tight end and you still have Zay Flowers out there. So it's just we talked about in the beginning of the season. I mean, I would have loved for them to be one of the undefeated teams, because I do like watching Lamar and them play. But hey, sometimes you got to take the. We talked about it before. Sometimes you have to take those losses to figure it out, and they finally. I feel like everything's clicking for them. And
Yep.
then we move on to the afternoon slate of games. We have the Broncos, Chargers. Shockingly, me and Fancy took the Broncos. They're coming off of. I want to say they start off 0-2 too. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure they're on a 3-game win streak. You can stat check me on that. Definitely could be wrong because I definitely paid less attention to the Broncos. Um, but I mean, they're beating some teams that I feel like they really should not have been beating.
Yep.
And maybe just their defense. We talked about I've had nothing. You can back me up on this. I had nothing but respect and love for Pat Surtain. I talked about me. I like was talking about him a bunch to you in the offseason about how he's literally surrounded. We made the meme of like how he's surrounded by nothing. And he
Yep.
had 100 yard, he had a 100 yard pick six, like or 101 or whatever it was, last week, which helped them out a ton. The Chargers coming off a bye, it gave Justin Herbert a little bit of time to rest up, which I'm sure you'll make that case for him. But that Broncos defense is just I'm not relying on the Broncos offense. I'm relying on how good the Broncos defense is because I saw them shut down Aaron Rodgers and I saw them shut down the Jets, who have way more options than the Chargers do. If Herbert still had Keenan Allen, Austin Eckler, it'd be a little bit of a different pick for me. But it does come
That's
back
fair.
to like it's a really good defense playing at home, and the Chargers are on a bye. Sometimes we see teams come off flat off a bye, so we don't know what that thing is. So that's kind of where I was at. I don't know about fancy, but I was
Yep.
picking them for their defense.
And I kind of have the opposite, mindset is, maybe I have a little bit too much confidence in coach, but Coach Harbaugh with, on a bye, being able to scheme for a matchup like this, that's kind of what led me to the Chargers on this is you have that week of rest, you have an extra week to prepare for your next opponent.
Yep.
That's his mindset, right? It's that next matchup. So I expect them to at least be able to game plan. Now, obviously, when you're actually up against that defense
It's a little bit different. Yeah.
and it hits you in the mouth, it's going to be a little bit different. But to me, that's kind of where the confidence level is with coach that you give him that extra time, and I think he'll be able to scheme it. They just have to execute. So we'll see.
Yeah, I was right. They're coming off of 3 straight wins. They lost to what? They barely lost to Seattle. They've lost one possession matchups every single week that they lost. So they start off 26-20, they lost to Seattle. Then they lost 13-6 against the Steelers, which are both great teams to lose to. Then
Yep.
they smoked Tampa Bay, snuck by the Jets, and then smoked the Raiders. So I'm seeing them 20 plus in more than half of their matchups.
And Bo Nix is getting some confidence now, right?
Yeah, Bo Nix is getting some confidence. They still haven't yanked him or start or benched him or any of that stuff. So it's gonna be a really interesting matchup to watch.
Yeah.
Speaking of another interesting matchup to watch, Steelers Raiders. Matt, you told me, which I think the whole world thought that Russell Wilson was active this whole time because he's still on the sideline with eye black on and pads, which doesn't
Yep.
make much sense. Maybe he was recording for like a Subway ad or something. I'm not sure. But we all took the Steelers. Um, I mean, Aiden O'Connell got the start for the Raiders. Devonta Adams, hamstring injury. The reason I do that is because I
Yep.
truly believe he's just holding out. He just doesn't
He's
want to
got to
play for
be.
them.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he's got to be sitting.
hamstring isn't like 3 weeks. It's you know what I mean. It's he just doesn't want to play. Simple as that. Which we'll see where he goes. It's gonna be interesting. But I still do think this is kind of that they start off 3-0, back-to-back losses for the Steelers. Good losses to take. It's not like it's not like they barely lost. I mean, the last play of the Cowboys game, if you guys watched it, they were so close to making it happen.
Yep.
And the Cowboys got it done, which is a big win for the Cowboys. But the Steelers got to get back in the win column to keep ahead of that AFC North. And that's kind of where my mindset is. It's going to be a bounce back week for Justin Fields, and I think the Raiders defense is wobbly, and I think he can gain some confidence going into that matchup.
Yeah, I hate that if Russell Wilson
I know.
is now active, he's taking away some of those snaps
You wonder
in
how nervous
practice.
does it get him nervous? Does he get, you know what I mean? If I
That's
fuck up, am I gonna, you know what I mean? Because he has been fumbling the ball a lot. Justin Fields has been. So it's like how thin, you know what I mean, is that ice, of
yeah.
like
I mean, I feel like the fan base isn't saying, "Hey, where's Russell Wilson?" Because it's $1 million deal, right? So we don't really care, but at the same time, you don't want Justin Fields, playing with someone like knowing that there is a starting quarterback right behind him.
right.
That's
It's the elephant
that's
in the
the
room.
only.
It's like you guys now he's active. This is who was supposed to
Yep.
start. You know what I mean? If I'm not doing my job type of thing. I will say I'm not positive on the odd chance that this, I mean, it never will, but if Big Ben sees this, I don't know what his podcast is called. But he is on, or maybe he was a guest or something, but I did see like, and he was talking about it like he's almost saying like it's the play calling. Like he's like, "Where are our screens at? Where?" And he went into depth of being a quarterback of this, and that coverage, blah 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 blah, line, whatever else. And so it's like it is interesting because you have Justin Fields, which your playbook should be more versatile than it is, and they do need to get a number
Yep.
two because George Pickens is good, but their number two right now is Van Jefferson, and then it goes to like Calvin Austin, I think, like that, or is Calvin Austin the third? And it's like maybe we do see that. I mean, we see this matchup, Steelers Raiders. That Raiders wide receiver could be on this Pittsburgh team within a week or two, possibly, right? Because that's the leading trend is Devontae Adams to the Steelers, and they kind of do need it. And you said like you kind of love it to kind of see like how it plays out because they would feed him all this other stuff. It could be good for Fields, but we're all on board with it. Steelers are going to win. I hope that Fields kind of gets his confidence back and they go 4-2 and then keep running with things.
Yep.
And then we move on to the Cowboys and Lions. I did think Fancy was going to go to the Cowboys with me. He went Cowboys every single week. So I didn't mean to go against you here. This is kind of that awkward, like you caught me cheating on you type of thing.
I know. Look at that. It's
But
right there.
just to get my point across, I talked about it 1,000 times already just on this episode. It's the teams at home, Dallas at home. They win a lot at home. They're coming off of it's that win against the Steelers just gave me that like they should have lost, but they found a way. And sometimes that is what gets things going, And as an Eagles fan, I don't want to see I don't want to see that as an Eagles fan because I hate Dallas and everything else. So this is one of those weeks for me to keep it short. If they lose, I win. If they win, I win the year. You know what I mean? And so I'm okay with that. It's nothing to do with the Lions. I do hope the Lions win this matchup. I just have to take the Cowboys at home coming off of not an impressive Steelers win, but a gritty Steelers win in Pittsburgh. If they can get it done in Pittsburgh, they should be able to take care of business at home, and that's kind of where I stand on that.
Yep. So if you look back on when we walked through our full slate of our teams, right? This is the game
This is the one that was circled out.
Yep. I circled, right? So I thought if we were gonna be 4-0 going into it, this would be the one that we might lose. Okay.
Which, not to cut you off, remind me who you guys lost to. Like I'm not even trolling you. Like
Tampa Bay.
Tampa Bay. Okay. Right? Okay. Got it. So we both got beat by Tampa.
So when we're looking at it, like I thought we were going to be 4-0, and then this is the game we were going to drop. Right. So we've already dropped the game. So now here I am, just kind of like I said, I'm going to pick the Lions here. I kind of said I'll probably in our pick'ems I'll probably pick them anyways. But I think we match up pretty good against any team. But we've had our down week, which was our loss. I think we're firing on mostly all cylinders. I think our weak spot right now is finding a way to get Laporta back into that rookie groove.
He's just not healthy. That's all. I swear.
I know. So that is the only part of the game that I think we're kind of just not quite lining up.
And all it's going to do is open up the field for everyone.
Exactly.
Amon-Ra, Jameson, the tricky plays, right? That little.
That's the difference.
Whatever they call it, the shake and bake or whatever it was. Like it's going to open up tons and tons of space because, I mean, he was so dominant last year.
I know.
It's got to be an ankle or something.
Yep. So aside from that, I think against this Dallas defense, Micah Parsons is the one that you always had to look out for, right? So the fact that now we've got, again, two-headed monster. If Micah Parsons isn't in the box, being able to, search them out, run game's dominant, the trick plays with Jameson, anywhere, and then Amon-Ra looks amazing, just like he was supposed to, but lacking a little bit in the first couple weeks. So, I don't know if we're going to see another a pass play to Jared Goff, but I still think we're on pace for one trick play a game.
There'll be something in this matchup because they know it's going to be probably two heavy offenses going at it, and we know your guys' defense led up quite a bit to Seattle, and I think the Cowboys. I think it could be a shootout, and I do like you guys in the shootout. I do not know. Maybe you do know. Like Micah Parsons missed last week, so is he?
That's I'm hoping. Okay. I'm hoping he's still out,
but questionable.
Yeah. So but I don't know for sure. So that would be
that'd be huge for you
advantage.
Guys. Yep. Yeah, absolutely. I will say before we move on from the Detroit game, not to rewind it back to the Raiders, but with Devontae Adams getting gone, like wanting to leave, there's rumors that Max Crosby wants to leave as well. I already told you before that Max Crosby mentioned how the one team he would go to is Detroit, and I don't know if you saw, but I think it was yesterday, either last night or when did the Tigers play? They play last night.
Oh, we just played again today.
Okay, so it was today then. Today he tweeted out, "Let's go Tigers." So something to watch
Yeah.
out. Not to get your hopes up, but imagine Aiden Hutchinson and Max Crosby, and he's a Detroit
Yeah.
boy. So it would be that would be like this Super Bowl touch of like we're all in. You know what I mean? Like kind of
100%. Yeah.
because defense wins championships, and your defense is struggling a little bit. And so, I mean, so is the Phillies. So I'm not attacking. I'm not attacking Detroit,
True.
but
Yeah.
when you let up 30+ points multiple weeks, something's got to tighten up. And that's either putting on more pressure on the quarterback or secondary, like we talked about it before. And then we go to the Falcons-Panthers game. Not much to talk about here. Falcons coming off of literally a record game for Kirk Cousins on Thursday Night Football.
Yeah, so top 15 performance.
Was it higher than Matty Ice, though, in Atlanta? That's something to look up maybe one of these.
I don't
Think
know
about that. He was a slinger. He had a couple of Julio Jones 300+ yard game. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah. So when I looked at I just kind of skimmed over it to find where he was. He's tied for 15th all-time yards, in a game. So I don't know if Matty Ice was up there or not.
Matty Ice was 503 with the Falcons.
Okay.
So what was
509?
Yeah, so he beat him. He said,
Yep.
I bet you that I mean, that had to be an Atlanta record. I'm assuming like that had to be a Falcons record. Which I think, like, I'm not even trying to brag. I think I was the only one that took Falcons in that matchup against the Bucks. And that was a hell of a game to watch. It was a lot of fun to watch. I watched the whole thing Thursday night. Came down to the wire there with the kick.
Great quarterback to have on your fantasy team against somebody else on this podcast.
Yeah. For those of you, Matt has Kirk Cousins, and they only started him because his quarterback Jalen Hurts was on a bye.
Yep.
And first time he started him all year, and he put up 80 points on your boy. Because our league is a little bit different. We do point per completion. Not that it's whatever. But
and then every 100 yards is also a bonus.
Right. Yep.
And then
so when you do 500, there wasn't even a 5. I looked. There wasn't even a 500 boost on there. Like because like who puts up? You know what I mean? Like it's like it stops at 400 because like who even? There's not even an option at 500 at that point. Yep. So we should make it like 15 or something like that. If they do that because it's like a once in a season type of thing. But something interesting, not to just like move on because we're just kind of moving on from the Falcons saying they're going to win this matchup because he just put up 500 yards on Tampa. Yep. They're going to smoke the Panthers and move on probably, right? It's probably going to be one of those easy matchups. They just get in the win column and move on. But something that notable to think about is Kirk Cousins, 3 wins, 3 comeback drives. All 3 of their wins, are on comeback drives. They have not won a game in the lead going into you know what I mean? Like it came down to the last drive in all of their wins, and he came through every time.
And I'm telling you, that was what was it, week 2 or maybe week 3? I gave you that
against the Eagles.
I gave you that stat. Going into that it's what was it?
You're right.
Yeah, it was like 28 comeback wins or whatever that stat was that I gave you. That he's done it, and you have that confidence, and obviously you saw it in this game, like overtime win like that. So
yeah, he's got ice in his veins. Kirk O'Chains, man. I mean,
yeah,
you guys saw the graphic on our socials. Matt did a great job with it, but shout out to Kirk, man. He's finally. In the beginning we were like, oh shit, they might have fucked up. They paid him a lot of money and he's not looked good. But let him get under center a little bit. Let him figure it out. Let him figure out the O line, the play calling, and all that other stuff.
And can you imagine when they get Bijan actually rolling too?
Yeah, I mean Kyle Pitts, you start him getting rolling too. It's like there's a lot of weapons there. Drake London looked like he'll finally get his first 1K season. He's only like 23, 24 years old. Not to say finally, but I mean he's legit. He's a legit superstar receiver. Which makes you wonder, not to get off track, but it's like if they didn't draft Michael Penix, it's like imagine them with Roman Dunze. Not saying that Darnell Mooney's not good, but we did see him drop that ball on that like 40-50 yarder. But good for the Falcons. And then the Sunday night matchup, kind of a bummer. Which we say that, but like the Giants just came off a really impressive win. Daniel Jones has better stats than Patrick Mahomes, Jalen Hurts, and Josh Allen. And it's like we shit on Daniel Jones, and it's like, oh well, he's doing it because of Malik Neighbors. Well, he won last week without Malik Neighbors.
Yeah.
It's like, so I mean, not to sit there and say I think Malik Neighbors will be back. We all did take the Bengals. We saw them put up how many points. They should have beaten the Ravens. It sucks that it came down to that way. Me and you, we talk about it. We had Joe Burrow as our Super Bowl favorites, MVP favorites.
Yep.
Kind of that comeback season for him and Jamar Chase. We have been seeing it. Jamar Chase and Joe Burrow have been great the last 3 weeks, and Burrow does have MVP numbers. It's just when your defense letting up probably like 36 points a game, you're not going to win too many games. Fancy talked about it. That margin's probably about 25 points, right? If you know, of scoring points and letting up points, it's like if you let up 25 points, you're going to lose most weeks.
Yep.
And so you kind of feel for them. We did take the Bengals going into this matchup.
Well, and they were trying to. I saw something about them wanting to flex the game that we think is going to be the game of the week, Ravens Commanders, but CBS is blocking it and not relinquishing that 1:00 game to push it because Sunday Night Football is on NBC, and then obviously the regional games are CBS and Fox. They are not giving up the rights to that matchup
they want it
because it's going to kill their ratings, right?
It's going to bring them views, right? I mean,
yeah.
you go from a Commanders Ravens game that a lot of people want to tune into and see versus the Bengals and Giants, which no one cares about. Like, not that they don't want to see Joey B. It could be a game where it's 30-0 and the Giants look terrible, So,
but can you imagine that matchup Sunday Night Football though?
I would love it, dude.
That'd
Grab
be perfect.
Some popcorn and whatever else. And then, I mean, Monday night, not that I don't love the matchup, but it's going to be interesting to see, like, who steps up. I don't even know if they named, like, the interim head coach for the Jets or anything like that. I found out this week that Mike Vrabel actually isn't available. I did not know that. I don't know if you didn't know that. Like, I
know he signed with the Browns.
Yeah, I did not know that. He's an advisor for the Browns.
That's what
I just found that out. So the only thing available, like notable names, would be Bill Belichick, which he's been doing a lot of TV, which I don't even know if he's any interest of doing that anymore. He was with the Jets at one point, though, in his career, I believe.
He's got to be having fun with Pat McAfee.
He's got to be, right? Kind of letting loose on the fun side, not really caring about it. Probably making the same amount of money, if not more.
Yeah.
But we all did take the Bills.
Well, speaking of Bills, I don't know if you saw it or not. Josh Allen had to have been knocked out.
He absolutely was. I slowed it down to show V when his hand like dragged through. That was like a bodiless movement. Like his body was just like flailing on the ground.
That's what I thought too.
He was 1,000, and I guess they checked him and everything else. And I mean, I thought it was like a kind of a Tua type thing of like not as bad as Tua, but like he definitely got knocked out. Like.
No, so you saw the head. You saw the head whip down to the ground. When you see that, he's got a head. He had to have been knocked out, and they still let him back in the game. I mean,
with as many concussions that are going on too. Not to get onto the turf talk, but I mean, really, when are we going to start just putting the Guardian caps on everyone? Because you can't tell the difference. You really can't. Like, I mean, when you're watching on TV, unless they zoom into a player, you can't see. It keeps them safer, and the turfs are causing so many more injuries. It's like, when do they just go back to? I mean, these injuries are crazy. They really are.
I'd like to know, because I mean, it does. You can, I mean, obviously, you can see the difference. Is there a weight to it? Is there like some? Because the only thing that would scare me on that is the type of hit that Josh Allen took, where that's that whip motion down. Is it, if it's heavier, are you now causing more impact? Because literally,
that's something. Yeah, that's a good point. I don't know if it caught. Supposedly, like I saw a player talk about it that uses it. I forget his name. Not like a star player or anything, but he says there's no difference. And anyone that's telling you otherwise, they just want to look better. They want it to be shiny. They want it to have, you know what I mean, all this other stuff. And it's like, I get it, but we're seeing so many more concussions. We're seeing so many more hamstrings injuries, right? We're seeing so many of it this year. And I mean, when is enough of, of the turf stuff, of the whatever? Throw the Guardian caps on. By 2 weeks into it, we're not going to even notice the difference of it. We really aren't. On TV, it's going to look the exact same. And it was just one of those things where we adjust to it and no one's even going to realize it anymore, It's like when they changed face masks from back in the day, Everyone got used to it and they do cool stuff with it. Maybe they can figure out something else out with the helmets and whatever. But I'm on board to at least try it. to see if it'll bring some stuff
Yeah.
down. Because I mean, it's happened. I mean, you're seeing wide receivers, Devontae Smith, Malik Neighbors. Smith was more of a hit head on, but Neighbors was off the turf again.
Yep.
So I mean, even if Tua comes back week 7, week 8, it's like, how do you not have a guardian cap on? So
Yeah.
especially as a quarterback, who cares if it adds a little bit more weight? At that point. So, but those are our picks. We'll zoom in one more time to give you guys a little look of our picks. We only have 4 matchups that we aren't agreeing on, which obviously is the Thursday night football game, the Washington Commander game, the Broncos game, and then the Cowboys game. Other than that, we agree on every matchup. So it could be an easier week to tail our picks because that's what we should have done in the beginning of the season. That's probably something we still can do, Matt, is to look back and see our record on picks that we all agree on going into the week. I mean, it's not undefeated. Yep. It's not undefeated by any means, but I bet you there's a pretty good record when you look back at it.
Yep.
Next, though, so not only did I lead in the record this week, but I got back on the board in the DK. Whoops, sorry. In the DK fantasy that we did.
Yep.
Almost the highest this season. So still, we haven't had a 200 plus. 200 plus was our record last year. I forget who did it. I mean, I think it had to been me because you guys only won like 1 apiece, I think. So the
that sounds right. Yeah.
Yeah, it's probably me. But like, I was only, I think, 2 points off of fancy, which it was kind of funny because the Darnell Mooney thing with fancy, obviously that was the highest scoring player out of all of our players.
Yep.
But I kind of talked about it, not just to skim through my lineup. I liked Caleb Williams against Carolina. I thought it was going to be his breakout. It's funny. We were sitting down. Yep. We were sitting down, and Mitchell Trubisky. This is what I get for being around the Chicago area, so I get to deal with a little bit more than obviously you. Yep. But Mitchell Trubisky, when he was with the Bears, the Pro Bowl year, the reason he went to the Pro Bowl as a substitute for whoever made the Super Bowl that year, is he had a game against Tampa Bay when Tampa Bay was awful. Like they were awful. This was before Baker, before Brady, and he threw 5 touchdown passes that game. Caleb Williams came in, threw a touchdown. I was like, I literally looked to V and my brother and go, this game is Caleb's game that Trubisky had against Tampa. And then literally I go on there and a bunch of like the Chicago analysis literally said like, I hate to say it, but this is going to be Caleb's game that Mitch Trubisky had against Tampa. And that's what I thought about going into fantasy was this is going to be his breakout game where hopefully it doesn't end up at Trubisky. Like we want the guy to have success. Yep. I'm never going to shit on someone and not want them to have success. You even said it the one week. You want the Bears to be competitive to make you guys the most competitive division. Now with that being said, I did take DJ Moore. They finally connected, which helped out a bunch. Kareem Hunt got in the end zone and had a great game Monday night. Zay Flowers, I said it going into the week. I thought it was going to be a shootout between the two teams because the Bengals did not have my analysis at it. If you look back last episode was the Bengals don't have a defense and the Bengals offense is really, really good. So the Baltimore Ravens have to keep up with it offensively, which means they are forced to throw it, right? Because you mentioned they haven't been great throwing the football. They've been great running the ball, but they're going to have to. And that was kind of the beneficiary of that mindset was that. Same thing with Garrett Wilson. Like, you got to be able to throw the football, and he was that. But we all picked the Broncos defense. We finally had that consensus, which was awesome.
They lit it up, right? Yeah.
And it lit it up. So we're going to have to keep track of that, too. Of right now, we're 1 for 1 of we did pick it. I don't think we had one from this week. I haven't even checked.
I didn't see one, no.
But that's kind of where it went. Fancy came close. It actually came down to the Monday night matchup. I had Kareem Hunt going into it. I was down like 8 points, and it ended up being the difference in that. But some noticeable picks. We had some good picks. Fancy, Jaden Daniels, Zay Flowers, Darnell Mooney, like I said. DeAndre Swift, another great game. Back-to-back great games for DeAndre Swift. I think he's got like 260 yards total in the last 2 weeks, which is kind of crazy.
Right when I thought the analysis was Roschon Johnson. Yep. We saw, if you follow our SnapShare graphics, he actually was stepping, the week before his blow up game the week before, I thought he was going to take over that spot, but then Swift just steps up these last 2 weeks and actually, perform.
And you know what? They still used Rashawn Johnson as the wrecking ball because he still had 2 touchdowns this week. So he still stole 2 from Swift, where Swift got all the way to the goal line and they gave it to the bigger back, kind of like in
Yep.
Detroit they do that. And then you had Pittman, who's now out this week. You had Nico. That's crazy. He was one of your highest scoring, and he only had 2 catches, which is crazy. And then obviously you had the Broncos defense with us. And then going into this week, though, I'll run through Fancy's real quick first. That way, me and you
Okay.
we don't get interrupted there. But Fancy's got Goff against Dallas, which I don't hate. Like I said, I think it's going to be a high scoring game. I think that's Fancy's mindset as well. Najee, the lead back for the Pittsburgh, he's getting most of the carries. He should get a touchdown. I would take him as an anytime touchdown scorer this week. Swift,
I
like I
think
just
we've
said,
got I think we've got Jalen Warren out again. So
yeah, he's banged up. Cordell Patterson's banged up.
yep.
DeAndre Swift, like I literally just said, 260 plus yards like the last 2 weeks. He's getting hot against a Jacksonville team that, and sometimes you got to get the run game going when you're traveling that far. Fancy loves the Jamar Chase connection that's been going on. This is the first Luke McCaffrey that we've seen. This is kind of one of those where Fancy probably spent a lot on the Jamar Chase and the Goff and the Swift.
Yeah.
So he kind of needed that whatever. I do love the Dontavian Wicks pick by him. Love seems to like him a lot. You talked about Laporta. Fancy freaking was right there with you. He took Laporta, Shaheed. Obviously, he's boomer bust. Literally the definition of boomer bust. He goes for, if I pick him, he puts up 0 points. But we did see that happen. If I literally picked him 1 week and he put up 0. But we saw last week.
Rattler's got an arm though, so I mean I can see
we'll
that
see.
deep ball again.
And that's the tricky thing, right? Is that's why that value is so low for Shaheed. Even averaging almost 15 points a week, is we just don't know what that rookie quarterback's gonna like. It might be Kamara 15 catches. We don't know. But for me, I went back to that Caleb Williams, DJ Moore matchup. I like them against Jacksonville. Jacksonville's literally the worst team against the pass. So you see that ranking, opposition points ranking 32nd. So literally they are going against the worst, secondary in the league. So I love that matchup again, especially with the confidence. I love Montgomery. We'll talk about that here in a little bit too. With you, it's funny because you went the other back, which he will probably get in as well. I love Pollard though. That Colts D line has been pretty banged up, and they let up a lot of rushing yards and rushing touchdowns. Mooney just coming off the hot week. Wanda Robinson, literally my waiver wire go to this season. It seems like, literally averaging over 6 catches a game. Love Zay Flowers. Same mindset is if it comes to a shootout, which Washington could force it to. They got to throw the ball to somebody, and Zay Flowers is doing a great job of that this season. I went Seahawks defense. Just if it's me, it was the cheap. It might come back and bite me in the ass. It was cheap though. Short week, Thursday night. Those games can sometimes be 17-14. You know what I mean? That's just
a bunch of field goals. Yeah,
just the way it goes sometimes. And then not to skip over Kyle Pitts, but we're starting to see him heat up a little bit with Kirk Cousins. And I'm just hoping that it wasn't just one of those where the quarterback had 500 yards, so he got a little chunk of that. Because I know Cousins does like to involve him. He loves his talent. Like you said, we just need to start seeing Pitts and Bijan utilized more consistently.
Yeah, it's hard. It's hard to trust him, but you did see that he's got that potential, and maybe he can stack it 2 weeks in a row. So
yep.
I'm right there with Fancy.
I was the only one I missed out on. I really do love Caleb Williams again, though. I really do.
That's a good matchup for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's 3 straight weeks for me, though, I think. Or no, 2 straight weeks now, I think. Maybe 3. I could be wrong. Of Caleb Williams, which is a lot. But I like the matchup. That was the other quarterback, though. I will say, that was my. I was like, man, it's gonna be a shootout, and then I just didn't do it. So.
Yeah. So that's the type of matchup I'm looking for here, with picking Goff. So. I went the other, it's a 2-headed monster. So I went the other way. I honestly feel like you could put both of them in a lineup like this.
You look at it, 18 fantasy points per game, 17.8. That is right on the head. And it's kind of funny that one is actually or more expensive when they probably should both be the same cost, if I'm being honest with you.
Yeah. But like you saw Montgomery does, if he's doing just the pounding the run, then they might just keep it with him. I like the change of pace with Gibbs though, because he has that. He can catch it out of the backfield a little bit more.
Especially if Parsons is active, right? You got to get him moving, and he's more of that like the big play, explosive, catch him on the. He's tough to beat when he gets on the outside.
Yep. And then I'm still going with Bucky. I
I'm gonna get you a
really
Bucky Irving jersey at
I
at
know.
this point.
I really think I'm waiting for that breakout. I mean, he's been showing it. You know, it's I think he's going to overtake White eventually. At 5,400, I'm fine with still throwing him in here, waiting for that breakout
Yep.
type of game. We talked about it earlier. Evans and Godwin. It's either one of them or both, right? I think no matter what, the passing game for Tampa Bay is explosive.
Yep.
In a matchup against like New Orleans like this, I love throwing him in there.
Especially when you
Really,
might be getting the ball a lot more with that rookie quarterback, right? Your defense might be getting you the ball a bit more offensive possessions. And I do think it's crazy to say, I do think Godwin is the safer pick out of the two this season because Evans has been boom or bust, like really
yep,
big boom. But then, like when he doesn't do anything, Godwin has 10 catches for 90 something. You know what I mean? It's like he gets the PPR. Like in a PPR, I'm taking Godwin most weeks because of that. Of like that say it's almost Baker's like safety of like I can find him every single play if I need him. Where Big Mike
yep,
is let me throw the ball 60 yards and you know what I mean like
yep.
but two
Um,
Tampa, $2. All right.
I know. Maybe it's just
Two
again,
Detroit, $2.
it's just it's the type of matchups is what I really look at on here,
Yep.
not necessarily. So, I'm gonna ride that hot hand with Brian Thomas Jr. as well. Rookie is just playing really well. So I threw him in there again. Um, I was torn on this pick, but to me, we've seen Jennings play really well when Ayuk was kind of on the downswing. We just had a really good game on Ayuk, so this one's kind of counterintuitive, but at the same time,
Hey, with Kittle possibly being out that Thursday night. I mean, and
yep,
Purdy does seem to like Jennings a lot. He still is getting targets a lot more than he would be like with that healthy offense. I think CMC is impacting that offense a lot more than people think.
yep. But we saw their defense get torched by throwing the ball when Detroit played them. So I'm
Perfect
looking at
passing.
Jennings there again. So um
I
and
love
then
the tight end pick. I really do. I
and then
love
Tucker Craft is just looking elite right now. So I threw him in
I
there.
I just was very surprised no one went Pitts. Look at Pitts' number. I love Kraft too, so I'm not shitting on Kraft, but like 4,400 after coming off of almost 100 yards on Pitts
Yeah.
against a
Yeah.
really good favorable matchup. I thought that might be across the board. That one
Yep.
and maybe Caleb, I don't know, but I love Kraft though. I have him in a
Yep.
dynasty league where I picked him up. He started off slow, but with Jordan Love back the past 2 weeks, he has done very, very well. He's became that safety valve for a young quarterback, which we can see
Yep.
do a lot. I mean, that
And he actually
11.4 points per game isn't very telling because it's all of his points that came the last 2 weeks.
and if you saw his one touchdown down the sideline, like he actually had flight of foot there. He was able
It's
to go
kind of a
down the
Gronk like type of, you know.
yeah. It was nice. So I think here's what I will in my flex spot. I will kind of highlight. I think, and I Aguba
Yeah, I'm
Bale.
gonna need you to say the pick.
Um,
I saw that. I was like, man, talk about an announcer nightmare, you know? Like
to me, that might be the sleeper pick, and it's if Joe Mixon again can't go, um, his usage was there. So to me, at that price,
yeah, because Cam
um,
Akers does not look good. I
Cam
mean,
Akers couldn't solidify that role, and
twice
then
2
and
weeks
then
ago
they
doing it.
yep, and then they went to the usage for Aguba Bale. I can't say
A
it.
gooba looba dooba.
I think he's got a great opportunity to have a really good week, especially
Yep.
against New England. So I threw him in there with Nico Collins being out, and then him being able to take over that running back one role. I think he might be the sleeper pick right there at that flex
Is
spot.
Joe Mixon officially ruled out, or are you just banking on? I keep seeing
I
questionable.
so questionable, but the updated news that I saw as of today, well, no, yesterday when I was making that, was he was trending
To be out,
to be out. So
which makes
again,
sense.
that
You're 4-1, not going against a competitive team. You're winning without him, and I mean to even credit you more with this pick, we talked about just like the gosh, what game? What game were we talking about? Oh, Cincinnati, with how you can when you get up a ton on a team, it might you know what I mean? It's
yeah, you don't have
beneficiary
to
to that
throw it,
running
so
back,
just
right?
run it.
they might go up 3 touchdowns. It's like, why injure more guys like Diggs and Tank Dell and Dalton Schultz when you can just keep running the football, like, and run the
Yep.
timeout. That he might be the beneficiary of that, in that game, which at that price, I mean, you can't really go wrong.
Yep.
So, and I love the Colts defense. I really do. I mean, Tennessee's the worst offense.
Yep. So you're looking at 1 or 2 picks out of them at least. So maybe even one
1 or
for a
2 picks and a
touchdown.
meme.
Yep.
At least, right? So yeah, that is this week's picks for us. So right now, 2 for Fancy, 2 for me, 1 for Matt through 5 weeks. So Matt, you need this one to kind of 2-2-2
Sounds good.
all the way
I'll
through.
take it.
And it's kind of how it's been too. Is none of us? I mean, it's been every week. None of us have gone back. Actually, Fancy just went back to back. I think, could be wrong. But you're due. And that leads us into our parlay that we just hit. So we're hot. We're taking the odds down a little bit. We were going like plus 500 or more. Now that it hit and we covered everything that we did bet already this season, we wanted to slim it down. Not saying that these are all like crazy favorites. It's kind of on that borderline of a pick what you like, that you'd almost do a straight bet. You could probably straight bet every single one of these, instead of parlaying them and probably get a 2 out of 3 if it comes down to it. But Fancy, like we talked about, loves Jaden Daniels, loves the Commanders in that game. We talked about how it could be a shootout. So Fancy taking 225 plus at minus 120, good odds. It is an alternate line, just to give you guys an idea, because they don't have his line set out yet, I don't believe. Because it is early, because we do make this Tuesday night, Wednesday morning type of thing, Wednesday night, before this is actually uploaded. And then Matt, we talked about it. I took David Montgomery. We've seen him. Well, it's your pick, but we've seen him score in every single matchup, right? He is the guy that if you're gonna throw some money on, yes, Gibbs is up there as well. But he's gonna get in. He's gonna get
If
in
you get
somehow,
down to the
some
goal
way.
line,
Yeah,
he's gonna.
Detroit scoring. No one's gonna stop their offense, and they're gonna get in. Gibbs is gonna go down 80 yards, and then Montgomery's gonna get the last 5. That's just how it kind of works. So that's what Matt's got in that one. And then I took the Bengals money line. We all picked the Bengals. That was all kind of our consensus pick. I felt comfortable going with something that was a little bit more favorited in that matchup. So we do have a noon, an afternoon game, and then the night game. So it's going to come down to, each time we'll be able to kind of look at each pick more. Like, we'll be able to observe it more than the other ones, which will be kind of cool. But we talked about it. I mean, not to keep nailing it, but it's, the Bengals need to win. The Bengals need to win. The Giants, for whatever reason, we still don't like them, even though Daniel Jones looks good.
Right.
Which is crazy that I'm saying it, but can the Giants keep up with that offense? We don't think so. And so that's our parlay. Plus $399, $25 to win, basically 125. So basically a times 5, So let us know in the comments if you are, if you've been telling us, or if you're going to tell us this week. Because, hey, between that bet last week and the meme bet, we're starting to get a little hot. So now's the time to jump on the train. There's probably a lot of people from the TikTok side that maybe come over and watch this for the first time. So welcome in. Feel free to, sub. Feel free to comment down in the, comment down below. Let us know that you're going to tail us, or even just give us your picks. Maybe throw something up that you like, and maybe we will mess around with it as well. Because I'm sure we'll cook up some kind of weird meme bet and have some fun with it after last week. But we have one more segment left. If you guys are new here, we have trivia with Matt that we always end things on. So we will catch you on the flip side with Matt with some trivia. There we go. I was hoping it would put us down low. That way it wasn't just a weird.
Okay, yeah. Without having the 3 of us.
Without having no Fancy.
Yeah. So, all right, since Fancy's not here, trivia time is now going to be just up to you to give us a good answer. So, we talked about all the different injuries, all the people still questionable going into this week. So, this is a broad question, so I'm not going to fault you if you can't hit it on the nose, but how many players are currently on injured reserve? So remember, IR gets you out at least. You got to sit out 4 weeks. We saw a lot of guys start the season on IR as well, and now that we're 5 weeks in, we've seen a lot of people actually get hurt and go on it as well. So,
Yeah, that's the tough thing because this is. I mean, I'm assuming, like, even for those that are listening, it's like you might be able to go through and be like Puka, Cooper Cup's not on IR, but Puka, Pacheco, Rice, like you
right,
can
you can
go through
name the
those
big
things.
names.
But something you have to think about is guys that don't get talked about, guys that are
Just
offensive
defensive
linemen,
players.
defensive linemen, special teams, practice squad guys. It's like there's way more than what you think. So like
I
with
mean,
that being said,
you can almost try to just do math in your head if there's 32 teams. How many people do you think on each squad type of stuff? But
I mean
I don't expect it's gonna be
even
tough.
then, it's the thing is, well, one, before we get to it, because it's gonna be a blind shot for me. Comment down below. I mean, seriously, just give it a shot before you don't cheat. Don't cheat. Like, let's see who comes closer, me or you guys, because I don't have my pal Fancy here to at least compete with.
Now I was gonna say
To hear the number
if you wait and see what Fancy says, then you can say how
higher or
far off.
lower and be
Yeah,
yeah,
how far off
exactly.
you think? Yeah,
I'm honestly, it might be a long shot, but the way I'm doing is there's 32 teams. If I can I get a calculator? Like
yeah. Go ahead. Let's walk me through it because
the way okay,
honestly,
my thought process is this: 32 teams. Some teams are gonna have more than others. Like there's gonna be some teams that have 10 plus. I know that, like because of offensive stuff, like D line, kick, all that stuff.
right.
So, but there's gonna be some teams that are like 4. So I'm gonna try to find like a good median of like if I'm gonna say 7 or 8 for each team. So like I'm thinking 8, like 8's my lucky number, which puts me at 256 is what I want to guess. Which seems crazy. I know that's a lot. Like I might be like way out of the ballpark. Like,
All right, you
but
ready for it?
yeah.
253.
No. No,
You were right
dude.
there. That's
Wait, so if I did 7, would it have hold on. The people that are good at math are probably like, you idiot. No, it would have been 224.
Yeah.
Damn.
That's I love the logic because when I'm thinking about it, I kind of
And
might
that's
I
not
might
even a stat. Like, even if someone even if someone paused it and was like, let me go Google this real quick. Like, how did you find the stat out? Did you actually go through and add it all up?
no. I found there is a great resource, football database. Gave me the current and they do update
Oh.
it. Yeah. So
And see,
what's interesting.
I wouldn't have went down. I said 256 and I was gonna round it up to 259. So like I wasn't thinking lower, I was thinking a little bit higher too. But that's fuck, man. I wish Fancy was here because I wish I knew
I love it.
Fancy's. We'll have to ask him that if he doesn't listen to this. We'll have to ask him that and just see maybe what he throws out. Like,
Yeah. See, because I might have said I love what you did. You kind of walked it through 7 or 8. I might have said maybe 5 a squad. So my number
I'm
would
just
have
thinking about
been,
how many
walk.
linemen, man. Those linemen go
That's
out
true.
like
That's true.
crazy. And you
Yeah.
just look
But
at,
you got
I mean, who is it? I think it's the Bengals have like 3 guys out. It's like, and that's just offensive line. That's not like the 4th, 5th wide receiver that like, I don't know. I
yeah,
was
you
just
just you got to be careful with, because if you are designated,
right,
you are out for the 4 weeks. Like there is no
right.
that's the difference, right? So, it would be interesting to see how they.
Whoopsies. What is going on? Uh-oh.
There we
Holy
go.
cow, you got kicked off the show.
I
It
know. I was
lagged
like,
on me.
am I still here?
Yeah,
Um,
sorry. Your trivia wasn't good enough for us, and we kicked you off.
See you later. No, so it would be interesting how they actually utilize it because obviously that takes away from a roster spot, that's why you would use it. You're not going to want to have someone on your roster spot that literally isn't going to be able to play for 2-3 weeks. So
Which is interesting
that's
that the Rams didn't put Cooper Kupp on the IR because he's missed almost going into like even like so on the bye week this week, like we talked about.
I
But
think they thought he had a chance,
they
but
still said that he still might not be training to play week 7, which would put him at 4 weeks. So it's like it's probably a tough decision to make when it's week to week, and
yeah,
you don't want to rule a guy out for 4 weeks if it's like, hey, I'm ready to go and now I can't play. Like, you know what I mean? And so it's probably tougher to do when you already put Puka there. Um, but yeah, no,
yep.
that was a fun one. I wonder down in the comments how close you guys were to guessing it at least. Um, I mean, that was closer than I thought that I got. I was like, man, maybe I am shooting too high up, but like, cause when you think about it, it's like you can't just go like 3 because I mean, I can name off a team that has 5 or like like, look at the Chiefs, they probably have 5
Yep.
or 6 themselves, and I mean, I'm sure there's a lot more guys that I've never even heard of if I looked at the list that are uh that are on that. So,
No, that was impressive though. I'm proud of you.
um, but a fun little thing, if you guys are listening this far, what should Matt put up behind him? Should he put up a big Detroit Lions sticker or an Eagles sticker at this point?
Yeah, I've got this is bugging me right here, right? I got to get something over the
Something
shoulder right
kid
there.
proof that can't be knocked down.
Yes, that's why I can't. Yeah, I've got a couple cool. I've got I've got Michigan Stadium before the renovations. I've got a nice big framed one there. I can't put it up there.
Oh, you can't?
No, it get knocked. He's gonna knock it down. You know what I
Really?
mean? Like he runs across that couch like crazy. So I got to be careful of what goes back there.
That's
Yeah,
true.
I remember 2 episodes ago I had the
Oh, yeah,
little
it's still
D right there.
behind there. You're keeping
And
it there, right? Because they're
yeah, hey, we're
2 and 1
2-1, 2-1
in the
in
series.
the ALDS.
You guys play tomorrow, Thursday, or as this goes live, or you guys get a day off?
Um,
I can look.
yeah, it's 2
You
home
guys were
games.
not favorited to make playoffs, and you guys were not favorited to win that series. You guys won today 3-0, and you
It,
guys
it,
do play tomorrow, 5 o'clock, game
yeah,
4, 6 o'clock your time, game 4.
it's an impressive run
They
we're
are
going on
starting a
right now.
pitcher that has not started yet in the playoffs, and you guys are still a TBD listed. So we will see. I mean,
Yep.
good for you guys. I'm definitely not rooting against you by any means. It's a fun thing. We definitely don't go too crazy into baseball on here, besides like maybe the World Series winner. Obviously, but when it hits home to a team of obviously you're Detroit all the way through
Got a
and through,
chance.
it is cool. So definitely do not pick up those Lego pieces behind you.
Yep, I'm
Leave them
leaving
the
them
way they
back there.
are. That is, even if you guys win the World Series, I think you keep it there until things go south the next season or something.
Sounds good.
Um, but yeah, the Phillies got eliminated tonight. The Mets beat them, so that's kind of who I was kind of rooting for, was just Bryce Harper. But other than that, um, if you guys are, like I said earlier, if you guys are just tuning in for the first time from our TikTok stuff, you guys love the betting stuff that we did with the meme bet and then the TWR parlay that we do. Um, can't promise you that we're gonna hit every single week, but we're hoping to find some traction going off of 2-2 last week, or 2 out of 2, I should say. Yeah, I mean, we appreciate you guys showing love on the socials. Our socials have been growing a lot and very steadily between not only the betting, but the waiver wire stuff, the graphics that Matt makes with the leaderboards, or the leaders, the stat leaders, which is always fun, always cool. Next week, we're going to have some fun stuff for you guys. The podcast might be look a little bit different on how we do things and how we break down the matchups, some new graphics for you guys, but always trying to improve. Matt, me and you are always spitballing ideas on what we could do better. So if there's any ideas that you guys have that maybe we can make a reality, or adjust for the podcast to make it better for you guys that are listening or watching, feel free. We are ears open. We are open to any ideas. And we just appreciate you guys, constantly tuning in. We're constantly averaging the same amount of views this season, which is awesome, which has been double what we've been getting last season. So it goes to show we are growing, we are getting better and more views. So we just want to say thank you to everyone for supporting us through figuring this stuff out for the first time. We're having a lot of fun with it, and we're definitely, as you guys can see, getting a lot better at it and making really cool graphics and segments. So we appreciate you guys. You got anything else for us, Matt, before I wrap it up?
No, good to go.
All right, cool. Well, hey, we appreciate you guys tuning in, and we hope all your guys' bets hits. We hope all of our bets hit, and go Eagles, go Lions, and go Packers for fancy. And we'll see you guys next week.
See ya.
Later.